Guys, Master here bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to be taking a look at the new LR GINYU Force that have just released on Global. Of course, we've been talking about them all week with the initial confusion and speculation about what was actually going to be released as the Part 2 LR. Then it was GINYU. Then we had the announcement for the Goku Black Super EZA, which made a lot of us suspect that it wasn't going to be GINYU. Then we got the GINYU announcement, and of course we found out with the data download that we are indeed getting the Gotenks Super EZA, although not for another like 6 days from today. So as it stands currently, GINYU has released on Global in a meta where the special pose team is interesting to say the least. So we're going to try and break this down into two little segments here. We're going to start off here on a special pose team where we are basically running double int Gotenks. So here's the intro for our boys. Look at that. Glorious, the GINYU Force. So yeah, we're running double int Gotenks, which means double 170 leads, which is obviously not the craziest. But, you know, that's what we can do for a special pose team. The only 200% team that this unit is on is Captain GINYU and then Frieza. The problem is with running them on Frieza's team is to use their active skill, you have to have a full special pose team. And so much of the rest of their passive is reliant on special pose units. So this guy, freshly awakened, freshly pulled, so he's 55% level 1 links. He does have certain links. I think loyalty is the one, is it? Yeah, which gives him damage reduction at level 10. So obviously that's going to be an important link to try and get leveled as quickly as possible. But these guys have the crazy rock, paper, scissors super attack thing. So if we get 12 key, anywhere from it's like 12, 13 or 14 key, we get the super that can either be Jace or Raccoon or Guldo. And then if we're getting 15 key, we can get Jace or Berta. It doesn't really list the other option here, which is, yeah, secondary effect, 50% chance of attack transforming and defense being greatly raised for the rest of battle. That is the Berta super. So 15, 16 or 17 key, we have a 50% chance of getting Berta, and then we get an infinite stack on our defense. And then the 18 key is massively raises attack and defense, which is 100%. And then raises allies' attack and defense by 30% for 1 turn. So, for example, on this rotation, that means Gotenks will be getting the buff from these guys' super attack. So they play their entrance animation, which gives them 3 key, attack and defense 150, and a guaranteed additional super for the rest of the battle, as well as giving all allies 25% attack and defense for 3 turns from the entry turn. But there has to be 5 or more special pose allies on the team. Then they get 2 key, attack and defense 150. They guard and are effective against all types when all allies in the turn are special pose. Then they get damage reduction 7% up to 35% before attacking, and chance to crit 7% up to 35% when attacking per special pose ally on the team. So again, you can just see, like, you just need them on a special pose team. They give special pose allies 25% attack and defense for 2 turns if you get an int or a rainbow orb. And then they get attack and defense 50% for themselves if you get a type sphere other than int. So ideally what you want to try and get for them is a non-int orb and a rainbow orb, because then they'd be giving the support to the allies and giving themselves the buff. So we can do that here, and we'll be able to see, we should see the numbers for everybody else on the rotation go up. There we go. So their start of turn defense is 265%. So bear in mind we are getting, well, we're not getting anything on super from our passive. We are getting 100% raise from our super attack effect. But yeah, we do have the damage reduction, although that's before attacking. Then we have crit chance. So I mean, 55% level 1 links, we're not exactly looking crazy. We've got GINYU Force, Loyalty, Signature Pose and Fierce Battle active. Gotenks, of course, having Signature Pose and Fierce Battle. But yeah, I mean, I guess let's see what they're going to do here for this first turn. 55% level 1 links. Obviously, Raccoon and Guldo are a very good partner for them on a team where we don't have a bunch of other GINYU Force characters, because they only need a unit whose name includes GINYU for them to get their buff and their guard. So 5.8 is the initial 12 key super, 18 key super, okay. Now we know we get a guaranteed additional super because of part of the intro. So we're going to get this, we get Raccoon. So that does a little bit of damage, and then we get another additional, that was Raccoon again. Oh no, it was Guldo. So interesting combo. We got both the different 12 key supers, but unfortunately the additional super is always going to be the Raccoon or Guldo and not the Jace or Berta. So in theory, like, I guess the best practice for them, if you can, but I mean, even on this rotation we had too much key, is like trying to get the 15 to 17 key super early on in the event. See if you can get the Berta super and get the infinite stack on the defense. But like, it's going to be tricky to try and do that deliberately on some of these setups. So I guess we'll have to see how we get on. And then, of course, you know, not to mention the fact that on this version of the Special Post team, I'm trying to run what I think is, like, close to being the best Special Post team we can actually run on Global as of right now. But, like, the Gamma's rotation, Gamma 1 is still very, very good. And obviously these guys get a buff because during the anniversary they get exclusive skill orbs. But, like, Gamma 2 can definitely be a bit outdated now. And, of course, on a rotation like this where he got sealed, he's not going to be getting supers, so he's not going to be getting a ton of defense. Now fortunately Gamma 1 will eat this, so we should be fine. If Gamma 2 was to take the super this turn, especially after being sealed, there is a high possibility that we would die, because he's going to get a couple of additionals off here, but they're just all going to be normals, so he's not going to get all those defense raises off of those super attack effects. We get a dodge. Yeah, so he takes double digits from the normals, that's fine. But he's not going to be eating supers here. So fortunately, Gamma 1, being the tank of the two, right, the slot 1 unit is the one that eats the super, so that's good. And then Gotenks at the end here. It's weird for Gotenks as well, because he's the leader of the team, but like essentially ends up just being a floater if we're running these specific rotations. So it's a bit of a weird one for him. Now let's see, what's your setup here now? We've got too much key in the first slot. So we can we get one? There's no way we can get one orb because there's too many int orbs and rainbow orbs. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get the super with these guys, the 12 key or the 15 to 17 key. They only have 236k defense start of turn as well, because with a full special pose team, we are getting the 35% damage reduction before attacking. But with only 236k start of defense, you're not really going to want to put them in slot 1. So that is a little bit unfortunate. We can't get well, I guess technically we can do that, but I guess we might as well just go for the full orbs for them, give the buff to everybody else. I mean, these guys ideally are going to end up being a floating support on the special pose team once all of those pieces come together, which really is the release of the physical topo and then all the sub-EZAs and stuff that come out with him, like the int topo, the AGL Gotenks, physical Ribrienne to go with the tech Ribrienne trio. Like, this team is just missing a couple of those pieces that make it a fully functional team for some of the hardest content in the game. Like, I mean, we could go into something like the Legendary Freezer event with this exact team build, and we probably would win. It's just obviously not going to be ideal. Like, imagine, I might try it for a video, and we'll probably burn through all of our attempts for the day. But, like, imagine trying to use this exact team against Kid Buu, for example. Going to be very, very tricky. Now, obviously, they do have guard, so we see, obviously, they're just eating double digits from all the normals, which is what we would expect. And this is a 170 double leads team again, remember. So I am going to get a little bit of a GINYU Force run in here afterwards so we can see some of their numbers. But, I mean, you got to remember that the GINYU Force team as well is not really a team that you're going to be taking into super difficult events. Again, if we use Kid Buu as an example, like the full GINYU Force team with double AGL Captain GINYU, not going to be super effective against Kid Buu. Now, Kid Buu is not the only fight in the game, of course, but being what is basically the current hardest boss on Global, it makes sense to kind of think about how these characters and how these teams are going to work in those events. Because remember, we've got the anniversary right around the corner, which brings in a whole bunch of other difficult content. And this team is not exactly going to be well suited to that sort of level of content. Some of the early stuff that comes out, sure. I mean, like the new Red Zone stages we got today with the Broly and Bio Broly not being super difficult. We've got videos for them going up, of course. Like, this team could probably beat those events. But when it comes to the real like top tier end game content, like this team is definitely not what we want to be running. But as I said at the beginning, like the GINYU Force only have two 200% leaders, AGL Captain GINYU and AGL Frieza. But if you run them on AGL Frieza's team, you can never use their active skill, which obviously seems like a bit of a waste because their active skill is very good. I think we should be at the point now where we can use it. Yeah, okay. So their active skill, which can be used, if you have a GINYU Force team, it can be used early. You can use it on turn 3 if you've got a full GINYU Force team, or full Special Pose team from turn 5. And it gives them a permanent attack and defense 25% buff, which is multiplicative, so it's quite a big buff. And all allies attack and defense 15%, self-excluded, so just the allies, which is really good as well. So if we go ahead and use the active skill here, get the GINYU Force in action. The Special Fighting Pose. Alright, so now we got a significant buff to everyone on the team as well. Can we try? We could try and go for the low key super. We go up to 295 start of turn. So let's do this and then grab this. And let's see if we can actually get the Berta super attack here, because that will give us a permanent stack on our defense, which will be significantly improved for us in terms of these later stages. Because Rakuma and Guldo here on the 170 team, now taking damage from the normals in slot 1. This guy can be attack lowered, but how much is this going to do to them? Yes, he's still 288k. I mean, this is what I mean about this team, right? So we did get the Berta super, and then we get a guaranteed additional, which will of course be either Guldo or Raccoon. So that's the thing, you can never get like a multiple Berta super within the same turn. Which, I mean, I'm sure they designed it that way on purpose, but that's got to be so tricky. Like early on in the event, you probably want to be trying to go for 15 to 17 key, but you only have a 50% chance that you're going to get Berta and not Jace. So it certainly could be frustrating if you're trying to go for those supers early on and then not getting them. It's like you might as well have been going for the 18 key super and doing more damage and getting an actual defense raise for the turn. Because that's the other thing, that super that we did with Berta, it gives us the 50% defense raise, which is now a permanent addition, but we don't get the 100% raise that we get from doing the 18 key super is the word I'm looking for. Alright, so I think we actually probably just want to do this. Grab those for you. Then we can grab these. Have all these tech orbs here for you guys. I'm not too worried about using the giant form at this point, so we'll do that. And then Gamma 2 should be able to do a very solid amount of damage here to Boo. He has been attack lowered a little bit as well, so we should be okay for this rotation. Got a good bit of HP recovery as well. I think Gamma 2 after supering will eat a super here quite nicely as well, so I think we should be okay. Gamma 1 potentially is in a bit of a sketchy spot, but I mean this just comes back to this team in general, right, and running a 170 team. Like LR GINYU is good, like the LR GINYU Force, and like potentially are they the best unit on the team? I don't know, I haven't used them enough to really rate them against the LR Ribrian Trio, another yellow coin LR that I also haven't really used that much to be honest either, but like, they're probably the best unit on the team, give or take. I mean, in Gotenks obviously can be very good. I suppose he was in contention for the best EZA for a little while. Maybe still is for some people. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely high up there in terms of the top units on this team, right? He's either the best or like the second best unit on the team. But it's not him that's the issue. It's the rest of the team. It's like the whole thing with Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito. He can still be very, very good even in some of the most difficult content that's out now. It's just the fact that he has to be run on the Heroes team or a giant 8-power team, which is pretty much non-existent at the moment in terms of meta relevancy. And it's the rest of the team that like drags down the performance overall, right? So we're now up to 443k start of turn. So let's go ahead and do this. I really wanted that rainbow though. But of course, the way the game likes to collect orbs, it always goes for more key rather than... Although the rainbow would be the same amount, but it's grouping them together rather than giving me the rainbow orb, which is what I want. So I guess we'll do this instead. Get the buff for the rest of the team. So that means we're at, what, 443k. We also have 35% damage reduction before attacking. So yeah, we should tank the normals for double digits because we also have guard as well. And then they're up to 6.7. I mean, 6.7, I guess it's not terrible for a 55% level 1 Lynx. For a unit who is largely going to be, like, their role on the team is to be a support. And then they're, like, 12 key supers still hitting in the realm of, like, 4 to 5 million. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not anything particularly crazy. So we'll go ahead and jump out here, come back in. We'll probably just do the same event so we can see the same sort of performance against the enemy. But we'll jump back in here with the actual GINYU force lead so they get the full 200% and see what kind of numbers they're putting out there. Okay, so we are back in the event with a GINYU force team. Shout out to all the people from the Discord that had to set the AGL Captain GINYU leads for me because... yeah, that is another problem in and of itself with units and teams like this, right? With the good old friend system, the way it is in Dokkan. There's a couple of freezers still on the friends list because he's the most current unit, of course, for the current Dokkan Fest unit for Global. But yeah, surprisingly enough, or unsurprisingly, I guess, I'm not even really sure. No LR GINYU friends or no AGL GINYU friends available on the list. Now, this is technically Captain GINYU Force. So he does share the same name as the physical LR. They won't share the same name as the tech LR, but I guess we can see what kind of we're looking like here. So we start off, you can see significantly with a 200% leader, a lot more defense start of turn, 300k. We can get the type orb and rainbow orb here, so we get the extra buff for them as well as the support for everybody else. So 340k defense, 35% damage reduction before attacking. So we'll see how we get on here. It means post super we are getting the decent defense buff, but we get supered before. Type disadvantage, how much is this actually going to do? 58k. I mean, I guess that's not too bad. Type disadvantage, of course, doesn't really matter because we have guard. And then it's 8.8, so significantly better. AGL GINYU, of course, does provide a bit of support for the GINYU force as well. So, I mean, it probably should go without saying, right? It should be no surprise to anyone that the full proper GINYU force team is going to be their best team. And of course, we'll be able to use their active skill literally on the next turn. And because their active skill is just use this and then get a permanent buff forever, there's like no reason not to use it straight away. So we'll be able to use it on the next turn. It not only buffs them, but buffs the rest of the team as well. Like, gives extra support from their support passive, which means we'll be able to have the full, like, support from their intro buff, which lasts for 3 turns, and their active skill buff. So they'll be giving everyone else on the rotation 40% attack and defense. So the next turn should be very, very strong for them. Now, in terms of how we want to play out this rotation, this is a bit more awkward. I guess we'll just do this. Get these guys floated off because they're going to at least have legendary power and then that little bit of extra attack support. So I do want to see what they look like with the tech LR GINYU force in slot 3. So, I mean, it shouldn't be much of a surprise, right? We're getting higher numbers because we're on a 200% lead instead of double 170. But this is the team that they're obviously going to look their best. It's just, again, the GINYU force team is not exactly crazy, you know, top tier in the meta team. You will be able to get through like some of these events. Like, I mean, this Margin Boot absorption stage can be pretty difficult. I would imagine if we were going to try and do the full run, we could probably get it done with this team. But it's certainly going to be much trickier than it is with a lot of these other teams in the meta right now. So this is actually a pretty good rotation because we can end up just leaving GINYU in the middle. So we'll just watch the active skill again. It's not super long. So the GINYU Force Super Special Fighting Pose. We do have double AGL GINYU on the rotation as well, so we are getting that little bit of extra support. We've now got the active skill, so everybody has the buff. And let's see what we're looking at here. So now they're at 385k start of turn. They do have the loyalty link with GINYU, but of course at level 1 it's not giving them the damage reduction. So I think what we want to do... Again, there's too many rainbow orbs. There's no way I'm going to be able to get only 1 key. So I might as well just go for the rainbow and then a different type orb, because then that gives everyone the buff. They're at a full 24 key. They're at 427k defense pre-super. So after the 18 key super, they're well over 800k defense here. And then the 12 keys, even if we're only getting the normal one, it is still greatly raised defense for one turn. So, I mean, even 55% level 1 links on a 200% team, they're going to be over 1 million defense after we've supered, right? Because they get a guaranteed additional for the rest of the battle because they got their intro animation. So the massively raise on their 18 key and then a follow-up greatly raise, they are going to have very decent defense, which they do back up with guard. And then 11 million. I mean, this is the thing, right? This is what I've been saying about the unit even in the first part, right? When we were talking about the janky special pose team, is the team, the unit themselves, they're really good. Like on this GINYU Force team, I mean, unarguably, hands down, they're the best unit on this team. No one is denying that the unit themselves and their performance, like in a vacuum, is really, really good. It's just unfortunately the rest of the team. I mean, AGL GINYU can still kind of hang. Raccoon Guldo still kind of can as well. Jason Berto, we're basically relying on dodge. And then, yeah, I mean, the LRs, like the physical LR and the tech LR, we are still really just relying on them not getting hit by super attacks in order to survive these tougher bosses. So it's a team that can still, like, you could definitely get through. And if you don't care about items, which I know a lot of people don't care about no item runs and stuff, if you're using items, if you're using that freezer, like the Namek support memory that gives Planet Namek Saga characters the permanent buff, that support memory obviously very, very good for the GINYU Force team as well. I mean, these guys will be looking really, really good, but it's just a... do you get lucky enough that, you know, like Jason Berto don't eat a super from Int Kid Boo or something, right? Because then it's just GG at that point. So, but I mean, we're doing well here so far. These guys looking decent. We're now going to have the rotation where we get this support from the tech GINYU, which means we do end up with all of our links active, which puts us at 410k. Obviously, if we get the right orbs, we're going to get extra as well. If we just linked up with you, what do we have? Everything except Fierce Battle. Okay. Well, let's do this so we can get the... we'll have the damage reduction pre-attacking. We've got 452k. Then you do this. And then because, of course, they give a attack buff to the rest of the rotation with their 18 key super, and the Tech LR GINYU Force give an attack buff with their 18 key super attack effect as well. So AGL GINYU should be hitting very, very hard here in the last slot. So we get our 18 key super, we get a crit, then we get the additional with the Raccoon super, and then, yeah, tanking for double... I mean, their tanking is definitely good. Their defense is solid after supering. The damage reduction pre-super does help if you have to put them in slot 1. Although, I mean, against some of the harder bosses, again, like Kid Boo, any anniversary content, 450k with 35% damage reduction is not enough, like, defense for slot 1 if they're going to potentially eat, like, a big super or something. Guard obviously helps because we don't have to worry about type disadvantage. But, yeah, I mean, you can't deny their individual performance. We're getting fairly lucky here with, like, the placement of the attacks and everything for the team. We floated off the other AGL GINYU, didn't we? So we're going to want to do that again here. Plus, you know, just keeping the physical one separate from the int one, just because they can't link together, is a decent strategy here. But I think we should finish him off this turn. Yeah, because physical LR GINYU Force can't super, which is bad. But as long as he supers Raccoon Guldo or just doesn't super this turn, we'll be fine. And then AGL GINYU should finish him off. Yeah, perfect. I mean, this is going quite well in terms of the run RNG. Like I was saying about the GINYU Force team being a bit harder to beat some of these tougher events. But, I mean, it's going alright. I mean, I say it's going alright so far. We're still literally in the first phase. So, I mean, we wouldn't be expecting to struggle, really, at this point. But either way, we are looking pretty good. Now, of course, when the GINYU Force intro animation runs out, that is, it's kind of like mitigated a little bit by their active skill, but they are going to see a bit of a drop. At least the permanent additional super is for the rest of the battle, which is really good. Well, actually, no, the stats are as well. I think it's only the ally support that runs out with their intro, right? Which is a bit of a shame if you're using them on a special pose team like when Topo comes out to be a floating support unit. But yeah, the key defense, attack and defense, and the additional super are for the rest of the battle. The support is only for 3 turns, which is an interesting choice. These guys do give support to Space Trolling Warriors, so we'll do, I guess, this. That's the great thing about their restriction is they literally just need to pick up 1 Rainbow Orb and then 1 Type Orb, and then they get all of that like buff, which is really good. So yeah, I mean, they look pretty solid. The problem is, just as we've seen with many units in the past, LR Omega is a great example. A unit can look really, really good in what they do and what numbers they put out, but if they're stuck on a team that is just mid or worse, then it's like, what do you really do with them? Because, I mean, like, I wouldn't expect people to see this showcase and be like, oh, they're actually way better than I expected, I should summon for them. Because, yeah, you really shouldn't summon for them. Which is a shame, because they are good. Now, when the Topo team comes out, it's going to be a different story, and I can understand people wanting to summon for them so that they can then have the unit already. Because when Topo drops, you're not just going to then suddenly be able to get the LR GINYU force. So when Topo drops, having this unit is going to be significant buff for that team, if you're even summoning for Topo. Because remember, for Global, he's going to come out after the anniversary, where most people will have spent all of their stones, and then the worldwide celebration comes up not long after that. So it's a bit of a weird one for these guys. Shame they released when they did. They're certainly an interesting unit, but definitely wouldn't recommend summoning for them. 55% level 1 links. I would say they're certainly putting out some very good numbers. So like thinking about what they'd be like at like Rainbow level 10 links, obviously very, very good. But yeah, just not really a worthwhile investment at this point, I think, on Global. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.